So you want to be an interior designer without necessarily having to go to college. Let's talk about it. My name is Shira Charles, and I've run my interior design firm from scratch without having graduated high school, gone to college, or had any kind of experience, and I'm here to tell you how you can too. I've already done a bunch of videos on some of the technical things that you need to learn how to do, like how to build your portfolio. I have a free micro course on my website for that. On technical things that you should learn how to do. All of that is in videos I have and in my essentials package, also on the website. But what do you do once you actually land a client? How do you start? You have a space to design. Now what? We're going to start small, and I'm going to use an example that is like one of my earlier projects to walk you through the process. Number one, what is the space? A guest bedroom. One of my first projects was a guest bedroom. Number two, likely at this point you've had some conversations with the client about what kind of style they're looking for. But if you haven't, soon now is going to be a good time to do that. If you're only taking one space within a space to design, no matter what the client wants to do, your job is to make sure that whatever else is in the rest of the environment of that building, in this case a residential house, needs to flow with the new design, to an extent anyway. Even if they are planning on eventually renovating other rooms, in the interim, it has to kind of make sense. Additionally, hopefully when you were meeting with the client, you were paying attention to what was going on in their environment. Because even when somebody says they want something in particular, if it is so drastically different than the space they're in now, you need to understand why. Because either there's something from there that you're going to have to carry in that they feel comfortable with, even if they think they want some level of different, or you have to understand the psychology behind what they're changing in order to properly design this new space for them. On top of that, you have to get help from them, in this case, because it's residential, for inspo on where you're going with your design. So you'll have to have conversations with them, and sometimes people don't know what things are called or what they look like. They'll describe them more as emotions or broader terms, and your job is to decipher that. And in order to make sure that you've understood them properly, understood their needs that they've spoken, and the things that you've assessed that they might not have said at all, you need to put together a quick direction board or two and show it to them to get confirmation that you're on the right track with this new design direction. To learn more about what should be on a direction board and how it should be laid out, comment direction board, and I'll make another video for that. There are two kinds of scenarios that you can be in when it comes to budget. One, the client gives you a number and says, I'm not going above it. Your job is to know, before you accept the project, if that's the case, whether or not that's possible. Somebody tells you, I want to do this bedroom for $300, and I want new wallpaper and new light fixtures. It's not possible, right? But if they tell you $10,000 for a room, but I want X, Y, and Z, you need to be able to be sure that you know that that can happen. When you've been doing it for long enough, these are kind of things that we can kind of know just like that, right? But in the beginning, you might have to build out your design and spec some potential options for wallpaper or furniture or light fixtures, flooring, whatever it is, and then go back and say, okay, either they told me $10,000 and yes, I can do it for $10,000, or they didn't tell me a number, now I have an estimate to give them. Little tip, please remember that your budget needs to include items that will be purchased, any markup that you are adding to it, if there will be one, shipping fees, assembly fees, any kind of labor and construction. All of that needs to be included. It's very common in the beginning to get stuck because you didn't calculate shipping costs or even credit card fees that a vendor could be adding, taxes, all of that. You don't want to have to go back to the client later and change the numbers that you gave them. Now, I recognize I've kind of glazed over the pick potential spec options and put together the budget for them. If you want a more detailed video on that, comment client budgeting in the comments, and I'll hopefully do another video for you breaking that process down a little bit more. But once they've approved the budget, you'll get the funds from them if that is how you do it, or if you're using the client's credit card. Every business runs differently. You will go and make those purchases. A couple of things to remember Lead times are important. Everything you spec'd, will it come in time? Also specific factors that you need to be aware of depending on what type of project it is, but there are certain compliance or practical things about pieces that you have to be really sure these pieces can actually work for this particular project, not just they look really great on the direction board and they fit the measurements, right? But let's assume that we're going from the point of everything fits and is appropriate for this space. You need to make your purchases, track your purchases so that you know when everything is coming, be able to communicate this to the client and fill in any gaps of anything that's missing, schedule any labor that needs to be scheduled, hire anybody that needs to be hired for assembly, etc. When everything comes together, you'll want to oversee the installs and the placement of everything, especially decor items. And don't forget to photograph and video your process so that you can use all of this for marketing. That is my quick breakdown on how to go about actually designing your first project, the steps of working with the clients. I didn't really get much into the technical of the actual designing process, but I mentioned what you can put in the comments to show me that there's enough of an interest for me to create another video clarifying those different points. Wishing you the best of luck, and here to provide more tips and tricks so you can become an interior designer without having to go to college. And as always, watch the other videos, share this with anybody that you think it might be helpful to, and don't forget about the mostly free tools I have on my website.